Previously on I Love Talking Survivor.
Do you have a question, Kelly?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
From a strategic standpoint, the jury might love the fake idol, the ruckus, the drama, but I thought it was extremely poor taste.
Point about. That was inappropriate, and I do not play that way. I just think it's disgusting.
I love holding the ladies. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Sort of.
Come on, come with me. These are my ladies. This is Jill. This is my lady Amy. Little Susie. Brianna. You know why we call her Brianna, right?
No.
Yeah, it's a long story.
How y'all feeling?
We're sad.
Yeah, I bet. Have you ever seen a phoenix dance? There she goes. Well, who wants to talk first?
Hey, come on, you can. I want final push. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Keep pushing!
Are you okay?
You have no idea how much this hurts.
It's so sad. Man, I really trusted you guys so much. I meant everything I said.
I know you did.
Can't explain how painful this is to anyone.
I'm sorry.
Ozzy, the tribe has spoken.
Heartbreaking. I love Jonathan coming up onto the beach saying, "So how are you guys feeling?" Pretty sad. That's cool. Yeah, I bet. Want to see a Phoenix dance? Read the room, Jonathan. It was at that moment where I kind of understood why he's a pretty polarizing figure within the Survivor community. And let me talk about Joe for a little bit. Joe is a frustrating player to have on your Survivor fantasy team because there's a lot that he has going for him. Seems to have a lot of relationships with people. He can win challenges. Obviously a great dude. And so you want to root for him. But then he has an episode like this and like the one he had before this. But I have a thought on Joe. I think the reason that Joe is the way he is within this game is that Joe just has a really low threshold for objectifying people and dehumanizing them. So I think about like when you play these sort of like snaky games like this, obviously there becomes a point where in some ways real people are kind of like just kind of pieces in the game. And so you might accuse them of things or just like get kind of fiery. And so in a way it becomes like personal almost. And this is talked about a lot in Survivor, right? And so I think Joe just doesn't if the slightest inch going towards dehumanizing somebody just kind of becomes off limits for him. And so to vote somebody off in the game, like that's one thing. Like that's just kind of like part of the game. But then what he's saying about Devins, and I think we probably missed some of this at Tribal, was like I think he said something like they were really he was talking to Aubrey. They were just how much they were going in on Stephanie. Like he's like that just went too far. And I think we've kind of seen that with Joe a few times where he just does not like objectifying people, dehumanizing them. He's like treat them with respect as you're kind of doing this. And I just, obviously I just don't think like something like that kind of works within this game for a winning game, right? It's great for entertainment. Just like Emily's the other side. She said this in one of her exit press. She's like, I'm the opposite side of the spectrum. Like I don't belong on Survivor. Like I'm not going to win Survivor. But me and Joe are kind of cut from the same cloth of you need us in there because of what we bring to the dynamic of the show. Otherwise, you're just getting something like kind of repetitive and predictable. And so I think that, yeah, she's got a good point. And I love that she's kind of like propping Joe up in that way while also kind of, acknowledging where she falls short in a lot of ways. But Joe played D1 football at UCLA, ran track. Like the dude knows how to this is a game. I'm about to destroy you, right? Like football, D1 football, like that's some hard hitting. But he's not the kind of guy that's also going to talk smack about somebody's mama, during the game. It's like he's not going to do that. Like we didn't sign up for that part. We signed up for we know what we're getting into. And so I think in a lot of ways Survivor it's kind of a sandbox And Joe had this idea of like where the sandbox ends. And so, you know, props to Joe. That's just his personality. And that sort of helps me kind of think through some of Joe's stuff. And yeah, Jonathan, man, he is just, just a odd way to kind of approach that tribe that knows they're about to lose somebody and who's in a tough situation. Felt fitting to wear black today for Ozzy. I got more texts and phone calls and conversations about Ozzy's vote out than anything else all season long, than anybody asking me about 50. People are hurt by this, man. And, you know, I think it's a good idea. Let's go to the phones. We're going to take a few calls right now. 214-420-6767. Let's just hear from some of the people what they want to say, all right? Let's, the phone lines are already lighting up here. Let's go to caller one. All right. You're on I Love Talking Survivor here.
Hey, brother, thanks for taking my call. First time listener, last time caller.
Oh, okay.
I just don't understand any of this at all, man, if I'm being real here. Now, I've been watching since the early days, and, you know, I've been a big fan for a long time, and something like this just totally breaks my heart, and honestly, I don't even know if I can finish the season anymore.
Okay, you're talking about Ozzy there?
Ozzy, man, what are you talking about here? I'm talking about Jeff not saying come on in, guys, anymore. I didn't even say come on in, guys.
Okay.
All right, this is disgusting. Yeah. What kind of nation?
All right, I think I saw where that one was going, and we lost his call. I must have gone into a tunnel or something like that, but let's try again. All right, let's go to caller number 2 on the line here. Let's hit you up. Welcome to I Love Talking Survivor. Come on in.
Hi, I Love Talking Survivor.
Hi.
This is Elaine. I was Ozzy's childhood neighbor.
Oh,
yes.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
we grew up together.
That's good to hear.
We were like peas and carrots, us two.
That's awesome. Ozzy's neighbor.
You know, I saw him on this TV program, and I saw him catching fish.
What he does.
And I told everyone, that's Ozzy.
That's Ozzy.
He's always been catching fish.
He's so talented, yeah.
Yes, he would go down to the local PetSmart and just grab the fish right out of the tank and pack them all in his cargo shorts. He was so skilled at it. We would laugh and laugh.
I don't know if that's a skill.
He would keep them as pets.
Okay, yeah. That's
I remember he had this one trout. He named it Coach. Isn't that funny?
Wait,
I never thought about that.
He had a pet named Coach?
Anyways, he would take his pet fish Coach out for walks.
How do you walk?
And then he would just walk him around the neighborhood, just bring him around on a leash. It was part of his charm in a lot of ways. You know his nickname, Jungle Boy?
Yeah, Jungle Boy. That's what they call him.
Well, I actually gave that to him in the 8th grade.
No kidding, Elaine.
I did. But it wasn't because he was climbing coconut trees. It was because he loved the Jungle Book story.
Oh, yeah.
He just wanted to be a boy living with the animals.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. It makes sense. So what do you think about him becoming Jungle Man?
Well, I had heard from his mama that he had a bat mitzvah for him just last year, and he was a man now.
So at the age of 41, Ozzy.
Yes, so now he's Jungle Man.
Fascinating.
But he's gone from our TVs.
Yeah, he is.
Because of that scoundrel Riz God.
Okay, interesting. What's that noise you're making there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Every time I hear his name, I put a hex on him that lasts a generation.
Who, Rizzo? That's a bit
now, Cody,
extreme.
You just added another generation.
Okay, all right. Yeah, let's end that one before we curse too much of Rizzo's family there. Want to apologize to Rizzo and his entire family tree. Thank you for calling Elaine. That was very sweet of her to call in, and best of luck to Rizzo. Okay, let's take one more. All right, we'll take one more call. And I know a lot of people are tore up about Ozzy. So yeah, it just feels right to take one more call. So let's do that here. It's caller number 3. You are on I Love Talking Survivor.
Hey, you got me, ILTS community. Yeah. How we doing on this glorious day? All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so you're.
This is Bert, the tuna fish, calling from the beautiful waters of Fiji, and life couldn't be better now that Ozzy is gone.
Wow, Bert the tuna fish calling, and you're happy Ozzy is gone.
Of course. 5 seasons this man has been terrorizing our neighborhood, and we needed him gone. So today is a great day for the fish community of Fiji.
Well, I guess there is that silver lining I hadn't considered, really. So, Bert, have we seen you on this show before, or would know you from somewhere?
Yeah, you know me. I was on episode 6 of Survivor. What was that? It was 42. I was the fish they showed right after Marianne had a mental breakdown when Jackson Fox was removed from the game.
Yeah,
she
that was a
lost
weird
it,
moment.
and I was there. I was there for
weird.
that big moment there. Yeah.
Glad to,
So I was also the opening act for Big Wendy. Yeah, you remember her? Yeah, when she released the chickens on the edge of extinction, I opened up for her. Yeah.
Okay,
I still know those chickens. They're still out here, man, but they've gotten kind of mixed into the wrong crowd, so it's been really sad to watch.
That happens. So, I mean, you're pretty famous then.
Well, I do come from a famous family, I suppose. My brother-in-law is actually the secret that, he bit that hunk of meat last season.
Jake?
Remember him? Yeah, that's my brother-in-law.
My God.
My niece, funny story here, my niece was the guppy that brushed up against Coach when he got his cramp. Yeah, this season. Yeah.
What are you saying?
He didn't get a cramp. A guppy kissed his calf, and he went belly up. He was so scared.
Interesting.
He tried to lie and say it was a shot, but the cameraman was right there, so he said he got a cramp. I don't know. That's Coach for you.
Okay.
But the most famous member of my family is my brother.
Okay, who's your brother?
He's the tuna that Zach Brown cooked this year. God rest him.
Oh, God.
God rest him.
Okay, yeah, I think we all know him.
Yeah, Zach Brown. Zach Brown had 18 Fijian fishing boys corner my brother into a shallow bay, and then one of the Fijian boys pepper sprayed my brother, and Zach Brown comes up and harpoons him from behind.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know. It all felt a little bit over the top to me, but my brother was a bit of a showman, so he's probably glad to go out like that. I'm sure people loved the episode, too. Your silence all but confirms that they loved the episode. Well, anyways, boys, I gotta run. Season 51 is filming right now, and one of these divers needs some footage to lead into a mother from El Paso getting medevaced, so I gotta run. See you later, Ozzy. Smell me later. Don't miss ya.
Wow, okay, yeah. So the tuna fish from Fiji just called in, too. So a lot of people heartbroken over this, and fish, I guess not so heartbroken over that. But, Ozzy had a great season. He really did. And so I get why a lot of people are hurt. He seemed to really turn the corner. And then obviously we get a lot of emotional pull this episode as well, where we get some information about his dad and that relationship. Very, very interesting to hear. And I absolutely loved him. I loved his whole journey. I mean, even going back, this is a neat thing. So back in what was that? Season 23, South Pacific. It's the season where Ozzy and Coach are team captains, and there's a moment in episode 6. I tried to pull it up, but I couldn't find it in my database that I have here. So hopefully I can find that for you later. Ozzy has a dream that he needs to go to Redemption Island and be intentionally voted off so that he can then win a bunch of challenges and that his tribe can then go into the merge with the strong numbers. And so Ozzy takes a step to do that. Very, I guess, controversial at the moment of just whether that was a good move or not. I mean, to Ozzy's credit, he won a bunch of challenges that season and was one challenge away from winning probably the entire season. So he has a dream that he needs to go to Redemption Island. He listens to that dream, almost wins the season. And who knows if he wouldn't have gone. Redemption Island wasn't the issue, is the point. Now he has a dream again. A dream again, once again, comes into play for Ozzy. This time he doesn't listen to it. Who knows if that happened at the same day he was eliminated. He mentions Coach and Stephanie in the dream. So it could have happened to, an episode or two ago or something like that. Well, I guess Stephanie was just voted off. So, yeah, maybe the same day before, something like that. But very interesting. And I thought that just, when somebody mentioned that, and it just kind of blew my mind that once again we have Ozzy having a dream on Survivor. And this time it didn't work out. Other vote off was Emily. Emily, yeah, such an interesting player in so many ways. You got to wonder why Emily this episode. And I think on one hand, if you're voting out Emily, it kind of makes sense because, yeah, she's at the bottom and she's not going to win. She doesn't have a lot of social influence, but we're also getting down to less players where if you have a pair like Emily and Devins, then that becomes a fifth of the tribe or something like that, and that can start having some pull and some sway. But I do think there's a difference between where Emily was and where somebody like Jake was in season 45, the Boston guy, and where Owen Knight was in season 43. These guys were kind of at the bottom and trying to get anything going, and were just kind of spinning their wheels. Like they didn't have the relationships or the trust or whatever, or even the luck to be able to get something going to kind of swing things around and make a game for themselves. And I do think like that's where Emily was different. So you have predictable threats in somebody like Cirie and Tiffany, and you have unpredictable threats in somebody like Emily and Devins. And so that's why I think it kind of made sense to go after Emily. Is not only is she an unpredictable non-threat, but she also has a little bit of agency in the game when it comes to relationships. I think the other alternative is you try to vote out Cirie. So let's say you try to go for Cirie. Jonathan teams up with Devins and Emily and tries to go with Cirie. So then you would have Devins, Emily, and Jonathan putting 3 on Cirie. You would have Cirie, Tiffany, and Cirie's extra vote putting 3 on Emily, and it would be a tie. And then let's say they revote, and it's again a tie. So now, because they couldn't come to an agreement, it's tied again. Cirie is safe. Emily is safe because they were the 2 tied. Devins is safe because he played his idol, and Jonathan is safe because he has immunity. And so Tiffany would go home simply because, you've heard this before, there is nobody else to vote for, nobody else to go home. And so Tiffany would experience what Cirie experienced. So what would likely happen is Devins, Emily, Jonathan vote for Cirie, 2 from Cirie, hear my baby crying. Tiffany vote for Emily, they tie. Emily would probably then lay out. Emily and Devins would lay out. Tiffany, if you do not switch to us, you're going home. Like there's nobody else that's going to be available. Like you have to go home. She would then try to convince Jonathan to switch. He would say, no, this is our chance to get her out. And then Tiffany would have to switch on Cirie, and Cirie would go home because Tiffany was about to experience what Cirie experienced. And so in a way, the same thing would happen to Cirie. She would be victim of that. Once again, it could have been so awesome, man. But we don't get something like that. Instead, we get Emily going home. I'm sure Emily would have loved to see that too. But alas, here we are. Could have been really, really, really cool TV 2 weeks in a row. But, you know, we still got something pretty hardcore. Could the Survivor community have handled Cirie and Ozzy going home on the same week? Dude, that would have shut the show down right there. That would have been pretty crazy. This Jonathan and Aubrey alliance, so he goes to that side of the beach. So we got, Rizzo, Joe, Ozzy, Aubrey. And it's, immediately they're kind of talking about Ozzy because, that scene where Jonathan and Tiffany are on the beach just giggling with each other. That's a side of Jonathan like I've never seen before. And I've seen a lot of his interviews and stuff like that. Like it was just pretty crazy watching that. That was awesome. But I loved watching how happy he was. And it's great having him on my fantasy team. Somebody who's pretty competent, even if I don't think he might not have the sway with the jury. It's still good to have somebody who I'm like, okay, you are doing it. You're playing a good game here, brother. So he goes over there, and Jonathan and Aubrey created an alliance earlier on. I'm not sure if Aubrey was ever an option for Jonathan. Jonathan was trying to get Ozzy out last episode, which we knew about. Like Devins called that out. He said that to everyone at Tribal. It's the part that Joe was so disgusted by. You should remember it. But then, whoever thought Aubrey was actually an option? Which is, it makes it even crazier that Ozzy didn't play his idol after he was a target last Tribal. He got his name thrown around last Tribal. Got to be playing that, brother, especially with a group that small. Every advantage basically has to be played. Unless you're Rizzo and you're being dragged to the end. Anytime you see somebody with an idol and nobody seems to care, it's like season 49, they cared, but they just didn't know how to manage it and were kind of, just self-destructing. But there's a lot of seasons where there's an idol and nobody cares. Season 48. Or an advantage and nobody cares. Season 48. And it's because nobody expects them to win. Nobody has any sort of I guess, just like respect for their game. And so they're like, yeah, keep your idol. It doesn't matter. Like, you go ahead, take it to the end if you want to. Flash it around, say, look, I never had to play this. And it's for a reason. Nobody respected your game. And I think that might be where Rizzo's at right now. It was already going to be incredibly hard for him to win this game, to get the votes against somebody, just because he's a kid from Yonkers. And so you got to play the best game ever if you're doing that. He's not there. He probably knows that. He's also sick as a dog, too, lost all this weight. So I think he's probably, just glad to get to the end there, get to the final day, get that extra paycheck. The Jonathan and Aubrey alliance, yeah, it seems like they were connected. Aubrey is fighting, man. She is doing good. I'm more convinced than ever that she's probably going to be the winner, because we had this scene. I love unpacking the storytelling and some of the, just what they're laying out over the course of the season. So hopefully this isn't like a, metagaming it too much for some of you people, but there's a scene right at the beginning of the episode where it's Devins and Aubrey on a hammock, and she says something like, man, that was some great teamwork by us, right? Like that was kind of like me and you together, like we went and did this. And when you think about the tribal council for the Mr. Beast episode, whose tribal council was that? Devins? Stephanie? Where was Aubrey during that? At one point, she, leans in and considers taking the coin thing. And then she says, you know what? No, it's you. Like, that was kind of a weird moment, but it was, it had to create some tension. I get it. But where was Aubrey in that tribal council? And yet the first scene we get is them saying, like, we're such a good team together. So I don't know. Just kind of curious. Unless they're trying to lay out, like, yeah, Aubrey is involved in this kind of stuff. And they're building a case of, like, look at our winner. Look, our winner is so good at doing all this stuff. And so that's why we get that scene. But she had a great episode. There's no doubt Jonathan considered her, I'm sure, to some degree, because you only got 4 people there. And one of them, you're taking to the end, the GOAT and Rizzo. And so Joe's probably a GOAT at this point, too. And so, he definitely kind of thought through Aubrey, I'm sure, but she did a great job laying her case out and fighting for that. Great episode. Obviously, I'm sad to see Ozzy go. Let me know if you like the bits, too, man. Maybe I should be doing some more bits. Looking forward to next week, too. I can't imagine Cerise survives this, right? This is where she has to go. Either that or we're going to see some magic. Some Cerise magic, which I'm fine with that, too. Who else do you take out? Who else is kind of this threat? This is the kind of point in the game where I thought it would make sense if you're going to target Cerise, target it now. Somebody said in an interview that Cerise has been practicing fire and she's good at fire now. Was this in Australian Survivor? If you've watched Australian Survivor and you have this, somebody said that Cerise is good at fire now. And if she's good at fire and you got to see that on Australian Survivor, yeah, you're not taking her anymore, right? You can't risk it to the wind, to the elements, whatever, right? Fire is a little bit of luck. Obviously, there's some skill there. But, originally I was kind of in this place where I'm like, take her all the way to the end. She's not going to win immunity. You already got Ozzy out of the game. So he's not going to say, yeah, I'm taking Cerise. Nobody else is going to take. Maybe Rizzo, just because he's such a fan. But originally I was like, take her all the way to the end, dude. Like, beat her in fire or just whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter at that point because she ain't going to win immunity. But if she can make fire, now's the point where you kind of get her out. Hopefully there's also another idol coming into play too. I think that would kind of make some fun. Devin's idol, I thought was pretty interesting game dynamic. Said until the final 7. So I don't know if we've ever seen something like that. We've seen like this is good for the next tribal or the next 2 tribals. Have we seen this idol is good until the final 7? Because usually it's till the final 5, I think, right? And so that, obviously I think if he could have gotten away with it, he would have used an opportunity to lie, because when have we ever seen an idol that does anything other than final 7? Rizzo used that lie. I wonder if this is some of the motivation behind the idol. Rizzo told people that his idol only worked till final 6. And so they thought at final 6, oh, Rizzo's going to play his idol tonight. He has to. He held on to it, played it at the next tribal, I believe, or whatever. So maybe they got the idea from him, but yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool, neat dynamic of the idol. And I really am excited for what happens in the future with that and some of the gameplay. I also loved, y'all know I love the production a lot. Love the camera work and the cinematography. That final scene with Ozzy, so powerful, man. And I think some of it is just like anything that's different is going to kind of catch our eye whenever you have this routine. So Survivor at this point now, when you're at Fiji, I think it's great to play into the history, the repetition, the legacy of being on that spot and that island. And one of those things is we do this camera shot. You get, Jeff's face, or you get Jeff, you get to see the person's face as their torch is snuffed, right? You don't see like Jeff's face in that kind of way. And so we get a new angle of a really intimate moment. And I think that kind of draws your eye too. But there's also, now some of you film majors, Josh Robinson can speak into some of this or something. But it's basically this idea. It's like when two people are talking in a scene, you have the camera over the shoulder of one person. So you get their back and head. You're looking from their perspective, right? And then the dialogue switches to the other person. The camera's behind the other person, back of their head, shoulder, that person, that kind of thing. And so in this moment, we get kind of the jury's perspective, or just beyond the jury, where we get Ozzy looking, Jeff right behind him. And it's almost like rather than getting the perspective of Jeff or Ozzy in this moment, we get to actually be there, right? Like it's just this sort of like this voyeurism of we get to intrude on this moment that we feel like, yeah, it's just so unique and so intimate. And obviously it's already emotionally charged already. And so I just love the camera work that they did there. And I thought it was a really neat catch there by the cameraman to then focus on a Jeff. So cool. And I hope we continue to get more awesome stuff like that. I also wonder if the new cameras, I've talked about this before, but that tribal set, go watch season 38. Look at the tribal set. It's so small. Everything's so tight. And it's because the cameras needed to be close because of the lighting. And so they had all this lighting there too. And so they built up the whole set. Cameras are hidden. The lighting is, strategically placed to light them up. Well, the new cameras, they can pull further back. The lighting doesn't need to be as close, as intense. They can pull everything further back. And so the tribal becomes larger too. And so because of that, you get these different angles that you can kind of play with that tribal. And so maybe some of that was because of that too, but I really appreciate it. And I thought they did a great job. All right, y'all. Until next time, talk to you later. I love talking Survivor. I love you for listening. Take care. Bye. Not so fast, my friend. Let's get into one last thing.
Let's get that listener of the week.
My buddy, Sam Flint. Thank you so much for being such a big supporter. He told me this week, he's like, my dream isn't even to be the listener of the week. It's to be on the board and to be crossed out. That happens sometimes. You've been crossed out, Sam. And now, Brian's a listener of the week. Thanks, Brian, for listening in. I appreciate you. You guys are so supportive, and it means the world to me. Now, goodbye. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to my Daddy's Survivor podcast. Got nothing for ya? Head back to camp. Love you, bye.